My mother handed my boyfriend a key at Sunday dinner and said, "Since you're already living two lives, you might as well have access to both houses." Nobody moved, not even my grandmother, who usually pretended not to hear anything unless it involved dessert. The key was small and silver, sitting in my boyfriend's palm like it weighed 20 pounds. He stared at it, then looked at me, and the look on his face was the first time I realized he wasn't confused. He was scared. I asked my mom, "What is that supposed to mean?" She took a sip of water so calmly it made my skin crawl. "It means," she said, "you should ask Ryan why he has been parking outside your sister's apartment every Thursday night." My sister Paige dropped her fork. Ryan stood up so fast his chair hit the wall behind him. And somehow everyone looked at me like I was the one about to ruin dinner. Paige lived 15 minutes from me in a small apartment above a dentist's office. She was 27, recently divorced, and my parents had been treating her like glass for the last year. If she cried, dinner stopped. If she sighed, my dad asked who needed to be handled. If I said anything even slightly direct, my mother would pull me aside and say, "Your sister is healing. Don't make everything about your tone." So when my mom accused my boyfriend of sneaking to Paige's apartment, the obvious reaction should have been shock, but my dad just rubbed his forehead. My aunt stared into her plate, and Paige whispered, "Mom, you promised." That was when I knew this wasn't a suspicion. It was a meeting I had not been invited to. Ryan said, "This is not what it looks like." That sentence has never helped anyone in history. I laughed once, not because it was funny, but because if I didn't laugh, I was going to break something. I asked him, "How long?" He kept saying my name like that was an answer, so my mother answered for him. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. For 6 weeks, I had been making dinner for a man who was apparently spending Thursday nights with my sister. 6 weeks of him telling me he had late client calls. 6 weeks of Paige texting me hearts under my pictures while keeping whatever this was in her apartment. I looked at her and asked, "Did you sleep with him?" Paige's face crumpled and my mother snapped, "That is a disgusting thing to ask at the table." I almost lost my mind. "You brought a key to dinner," my grandmother whispered. Let the girl answer. Paige wiped her mouth with a napkin even though she hadn't eaten anything. Then she said, "No, not like that, not like that." The room shifted. Ryan put both hands on the back of his chair and said, "I was helping her." "Helping her do what?" Nobody answered. Then my dad said, "Sit down." I said, "No." He used the same voice he used when I was 16 and came home 10 minutes late. "Sit down before you embarrass yourself." That was the thing about my family. They could drop a bomb in the middle of a meal and still act like my reaction was the real explosion. I looked at Ryan and said, "You have 10 seconds. He looked at Paige. Not me. Paige whispered, "Don't." So he didn't, and that was enough. I grabbed my purse, but my mother said, "If you walk out now, you walk out without hearing why." I turned around. She slid a folder across the table. An actual folder, like she had prepared evidence for court. Inside were printed screenshots of bank transfers, Ryan's name, Paige's name, amounts ranging from $200 to $1,500, dates, notes like dentist, rent, urgent, and one that just said, "Please don't tell her." I read the last one 3 times. Please don't tell her. My throat went tight in a way I hated because I didn't want to cry in front of them. Ryan said, "I was going to tell you." "When?" "After the wedding?" That made him flinch. We weren't officially engaged, but we had been looking at venues. Paige knew that. My mother knew that. Everyone knew that. Paige finally spoke up. She said after her divorce, her ex stopped paying half the debt he left her with. She was behind on rent. Her car needed repairs. She didn't want to ask my parents because dad had already paid for her lawyer. So she asked Ryan because he was good with money and because he had once offered to help her build a budget. I said, "So he became your secret boyfriend with a checking account?" She shouted. I was ashamed. It was the first honest thing anyone said all night. Then Ryan said, "I didn't tell you because you hate when Paige needs help." That hit me harder than I expected because there was a tiny piece of truth in it. I didn't hate Paige needing